Hello everyone. First off, let me congratulate and thank Governor Schwarzenegger and other US governors for the leadership they're showing in responding to the challenge of climate change. California, with its groundbreaking AB 32 legislation, has now set an example for many other states to follow, both in the US and globally. Governor Schwarzenegger, on behalf of people around the world, I would like to say thank you. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your vision. Thank you for your courage in making a path that others can now follow. I would also like to congratulate the Governor for organizing this event, bringing heads of state and regional governments from around the world together in Los Angeles, and again in 3 weeks with the Climate Group in Poznan to demonstrate how together we can use innovation, creativity, ambition in designing policy responses that not only address the climate challenge, but can also lead to new jobs, new businesses, and new sources of growth. The fact that states and provinces in developing nations, such as China, India, Mexico, and Brazil, as well as the federal governments themselves, are participating in this summit is also a huge signal. A global solution to the climate crisis requires, of course, meaningful US action, and it is inspiring to see what's happening in the states and regions of the United States. 33 states now have climate action plans, and in every region of North America, states and provinces have joined together in regional partnerships. These regional alliances clearly demonstrate that the US states, Mexican states, and Canadian provinces recognize the environmental challenge and the economic opportunity. Indeed, regional and state governments working together, I think, can set an example to the rest of the world on how collaboration can multiply the benefits and reduce the costs of acting to cut emissions. We now have a big challenge. Over the next 14 months, we have to secure a global deal on climate change. These will be amongst the most technically complex and politically sensitive negotiations since the Second World War. A successful outcome is, however, not only essential for the climate, but it could kickstart new investment at a level that could play a part in reactivating the world economy. These benefits are well known, but they're only going to be realized if all countries are prepared to act together. I don't believe the choice is between growing jobs and saving the environment. It's rather about how we grow sustainably. And the latest science is clear. If we fail to start cutting global emissions soon, then many of our options on technology, adaptation, and on cost will rapidly be closed down. Early action reduces costs and minimizes the need for major dislocation further down the line. Now, I know some people will say, look, with a tough economic situation, we can't afford action. I would say exactly the opposite. We have learned enough to know that energy security, as well as climate change, means we must act. And the need to boost our economy gives us the chance to address some of the critical solutions to the challenge of cutting emissions. For example, we know energy conservation is a worthy financial as well as environmental benefit. We know that renewable energy, including solar power, has enormous potential. We know the technology for cleaner vehicles has advanced by leaps and bounds in recent years. And we know too that carbon capture and storage is vital for a future in which China and India will increase dramatically their power production. Deforestation is 15% of CO2 emissions. It surely isn't beyond our wit to prevent and reverse it. In other words, what I'm saying is the precise nature, maybe, of the future cannot in all aspects be predicted. But what we can say is the possibility it offers for a different type of growth and consumption can be seen. So let's seize the moment. If this economic crisis teaches us anything, it is the folly of avoiding bold decisions when the consequences of bad decisions are manifest. A global deal will allow us to do something else of great advantage to humankind. It will put the growing power of the East alongside the traditional weight of the West and put it together in partnership. For at the heart of any solution lies, of course, transformative action by Western nations to peak and then cut emissions drastically. But then also, consistent with lifting their people out of poverty, for the emerging nations of the world, in particular China and India, to embark on the same transformation. It is the marriage of these common but differentiated obligations that is and will be the core of any global agreement. So, it's a huge challenge. In order to make this an upward spiral of increasing ambition rather than a downward rush to the lowest common denominator positions, all the major countries in these global negotiations will have to show unique leadership over the coming months. Industrialized countries need to show leadership by implementing their own domestic policies to cut emissions and incentivize the new low-carbon technologies. This will be essential so that emerging economies believe both that the industrialized world is serious and also that the solutions really are available. It would be a great signal for the new US President and Congress in this regard to build on the valuable work already being undertaken by states and pass legislation. For their part, the major developing countries need to come up with their own proposals on what they can do on their own, but also what they need to do in support. First, to reduce the carbon intensity of their growth, and second, to begin to make their own emission cuts. In the report I published in June with the Climate Group, the international business body dedicated to solutions on climate change, we identified in that report 10 building blocks of a global deal. And during the next year, in our next phase of work, we're going to set out how these building blocks can be put together in a coherent structure to deliver the deal the environment demands for sustainable growth in the 21st century. Your meeting today is absolutely the type of discussion we need to set the world on this new path. What you debate will be listened to right round the world by all those who share your vision and your sense of urgency. So thank you again, Governor Schwarzenegger, and thank you all of you for your leadership on this issue. Good luck.